Hey everybody, welcome back. Garry Adelman, American Battlefield Trust. That's Chris White behind the camera, and we're so glad you're joining us here at Spring Hill. If you've watched the other video, you've already seen us talk about the Battle of Spring Hill. This is the real deal. This isn't just a few troops fighting, and we hope that you got something out of that you probably didn't know. I mean, most people know one thing about Spring Hill, and that's what we're going to address here on this particular video. But make sure you go back and watch that one. So we're standing, you might be able to see a place called Ripa Villa over my shoulder. You're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that soon enough. But what we want to talk about first is just what has to be one of the most inexplicable things to even happen in the Civil War. And that says a lot, because a lot of inexplicable things are going on. And that is just, call it what you want. The Great Escape, the lost opportunity at Spring Hill. It's just unbelievable what happens here. And to outline this, I'm going to bring on Eric Jacobson. You've already heard from him, but I'm going to do it again. CEO of the Battle of Franklin's Trust. I have been called, and I've been honored to be called, the Eric Jacobson of the East. Whether he likes being called the Garry Adelman of the West, it might be a different story. Eric, come on, man.
Hey everybody, so like Garry said, behind me Ripa Villa, but also behind me the ground that was really super consequential for what happens on November 29th, 1864. As the combat we just talked about earlier was exploding a little bit to the northeast between Cleburne's division and Wagner's division, William Bates' division moving in from the east, which is to my right, their job is to try and block the pike. To my west, to my left. Bates' skirmishers get within about 100 yards of the road, his main battle line within about 200 yards when he's ordered to stop, to halt by General Frank Cheatham. Bates was ordered to withdraw, move to the northeast, and join our upper link with Cleburne's division. And right there, one of the biggest opportunities to block the road was lost because Bates was within visual sight of the road before sundown. Later, after darkness falls, Ed Johnson's division of S.D. Lee's Corps, moves into this area, joins up on Bates' left. His troops are positioned within probably 300 yards of the road, easily within visual sight, but it truly was an incredible escape. All night, the U.S. Army moves up the road behind us, the Columbia Pike, 20,000 troops, 4 divisions march up that road, uncontested, unmolested, and escape to Franklin.
Just unbelievable. Even thanks, Eric. Just listening to this again, it's frustrating to know about. You know, I mean, here's John Schofield has got this massive force, and John Bell Hood's whole plan, you know, for this campaign will depend on isolating and dealing with Schofield, and if he can, get onto Nashville and deal with whatever might confront him there. And that doesn't happen at all. So we have to unpack this, man. What in the world? How did this happen? Hood gave orders. Cheatham's here, Bates here, Johnson's here. What's happening?
You know, for years, people have asked me how did this happen? You know, I think the easiest answer, it's human error. You know, we'd like to think that these people were infallible. The war has been going on for 3.5 years. Nobody's really physically well. And the fog of war literally just settles onto this area because the one thing the Confederates are not expecting is that the U.S. Army, commanded by John Schofield, is actually going to march up this road under cover of darkness, literally under the Confederates' noses. And the Confederate cavalry has not done a good job throughout the day. Nathan Bedford Forrest cavalry is never able to actually ascertain what they're dealing with at Spring Hill, which is what leads to that initial confrontation with Cleburne's division. So it's just one mistake leads into the other, and eventually when darkness falls, the Confederates go into bivouac. John Bell Hood and Frank Cheatham and all of the divisional commanders are completely unaware and not even considering the fact that U.S. troops are going to be moving up that road all the way to Franklin.
And we're standing on the site, if I'm correct. This is the main Confederate line here, so that's the difference. And they have skirmishers even closer to the road, 100 yards further ahead, so they're literally just marching right by them. And it is, man, is it tempting, because this is how the campaign goes for most people at least. John Bell Hood, what an idiot. He attacked at Franklin, and he just let him slip right by him here. What would you say to that?
Well, Hood later said this was the best career of his move. This was the best military move of his career come to naught. And I think for Hood, there has to be an incredible amount of frustration. And I know it's easy to blame the commander, and ultimately he's responsible. But if the commander has to go up and down the line and tell his subordinates what to do, then I think he's probably got the wrong subordinates. And there's a good bit of that here. The Army of Tennessee, really from the onset of the war to the end, is beset with one big problem: command issues. So what happens at Spring Hill is nothing new. If you're familiar with Shiloh, Stones River, Perryville, I mean, this is an ongoing issue. And oh my goodness, do they pay a terrible price for the mistakes made here the following day at Franklin.
Sorry, I'd have been here for the start of the video. Come back here, so I've had to just come back. Now, if we look behind me, you can see that phone pole, and the skirmish line was just up past that, just a little ways. So we're really talking like 2 football fields away. I mean, we're incredibly close. Eric, spell this out for us. If the Confederates do get up there and they do block that road, we're on a nice ridge line right here. It seems like they'd have a pretty good defensive position to contest anybody coming up that road.
Well, that's the great what if, right? Is we'd like to think about, what might have happened had Hood's plan worked out. The only thing I can tell you for certain is there's no Battle of Franklin. Whatever was going to happen, Hood intended to happen here. Now, if he had been able to get Cheatham's Corps almost 10,000 strong astride that road, he's got 3 divisions stacked up on it or near it. It's not going to be easy for John Schofield to simply move north. He's going to have to either fight his way through or somehow try and get around. Plus, A.P. Stewart's corps is on the field. Let's not forget, Hood's got 20,000 troops, and he intended to use those to block the road. So I can't tell you for certain other than it couldn't have gone more wrong. I mean, everything Hood planned just completely unraveled in a few hours.
So how much does that inform then when he gets up to Franklin the next day? He's had a very frustrating day here, and how does that inform how he approaches Franklin?
I think that it would be easy to say that, Hood's in a rage and he's furious the next day. I don't think he is, but is he frustrated? That's the key word. I have argued for years that what happens at Franklin as a result of this is not dissimilar to what happens on the 3rd day at Gettysburg. Robert E. Lee's decisions that 3rd day are all driven by everything that's happened the 1st and 2nd day. And I'm not going to say that never going to say Hood made the right decision at Franklin, but honestly, I don't know what other decision he had. He couldn't just back up. He couldn't just leave Tennessee. He had to see this through. And after this debacle, there's no way Hood's going to try another flanking maneuver. He's going to go right in, hit him as hard as he can, and try and make up for the loss here.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. People forget that, if he lets Schofield go, Schofield just goes and joins whoever's in Nashville. And that Thomas is going to eventually be there. A.J. Smith is showing up. And the whole goal of this, the Nashville group is just growing. So he's got to strike, right?
Right. Hindsight, hindsight. We're all Monday morning quarterbacks.
We can't help it.
We can't help it. And I think that Hood, it's a desperate time. And I think he is being driven not so much just by what happened here, but by the stage of the war. You had to push it as hard as you can.
Right, and I'm going to pretend like about 2 graphics that Chris put up. The first one is of John M. Schofield, and I'm going to pretend like I'm looking at my phone like we're getting comments and saying that, couldn't Schofield have just hidden his entire army under his beard and then marched up himself on horseback?
Right.
And the second one I'm going to say is that Chris has put up our Spring Hill map quite a few times, and it still has this tract highlighted in yellow from back, 2011 or so, where I met you out in that field, man, for the first time.
We were so much younger then.
Yes, we were, and much less better looking though. And this was just one of the properties we've been able to save together, and I'm glad I'm here with both you and Chris Mackowski, because Chris, we always say he's emerging Civil War, true, but he's also on the board of the Central Virginia Battlefields Trust, okay? And between the Central Virginia Battlefields Trust, CVBT, and the Battle of Franklin Trust, Franklin Charge, we have no better local partners. The trust can't get its work done without people on the ground really doing the hard work. We cannot possibly do it. So we have no better partners than you guys, and we can't save places like this without that. So thanks.
Well, we couldn't have the opportunities here without you having saved the ground, because this was supposed to be covered with condominiums and apartments and 50 other things I'm sure we really need.
Yeah.
Otherwise, instead we saved it, and to be able to stand here where this event played out is really key to getting visitors to understanding why Franklin is so important. And I'm convinced to this day you have to understand the debacle or the affair at Spring Hill. How about that? Pitch my own book.
Yes, the affair.
You've got to understand this to really, I think, better appreciate the tragedy that is Franklin.
Good, and I'm going to leave that there for a second. Look, Chris wants to come on, but I'm going to move on real quick here because we really haven't covered it. So the Battle of Franklin Trust, you guys manage, and we'll be going there to Carnton and the Carter House, but also Rippavilla. What's Rippavilla?
Well, Rippavilla, a lot like Carter House in Carnton, long family history. The Cheris family lived here for about 100 years, so decades before and after the war. But this is where John Bell Hood came on the morning of November 30th, understandably chagrined by what had happened. A short meeting is had, Hood and at least Frank Cheatham, perhaps some staff officers, lots of local legend and myth and all that's wrapped up into the big breakfast meeting at Rippavilla. I'm sure there was a meeting of some sort, but the bottom line is what happens right here on the morning of the 30th are some of the decisions that lead to Franklin. Hood begins an immediate pursuit. He believes he has one last chance to catch Schofield before he gets to Nashville. So the genesis of the nightmare that consumes the Confederate Army later that day really begins right here at Rippavilla.
Good, and I'm gonna get out of your field of vision and out of your arm length when I ask this question. Okay, Hood, laudanum or not?
Absolutely not. It's nothing but old fictional, wives' tales that I think were born out of this area. I think Hood simply became the scapegoat. He became the convenient villain for everything that went wrong here in Middle Tennessee.
Good. Anything else to add, Eric?
No, I think we covered it.
All right, great. So I want to just end with this idea that I hope you can see that having a place like this preserved and interpreted, and we work closely with our friends here to make sure this trail remains interpreted. We have some new signage up for some of the United States colored troops that are here as well. So it's a great place to come visit. There's 2 different trails here. We've already shown you the other one. So to Eric, to Chris, and to all you for watching, thank you so much. Go to battlefields.org to get inspired, and thank you so much for your support.